5th grade, third 6 weeks curriculum preview. We have a new document for you that I think you're going to really enjoy. It is underneath unit overview. It's right by the unit overview. What it does is it takes the resources all the way from the first 6 weeks to the third 6 weeks, and it gives you what they are, the focus lesson resources, the standard at which they are attached to, whether they are in English or in Spanish, or in some cases that you don't need them in Spanish. So I hope this document helps you to locate those documents and help you to find an easier way to do that. Let's take a look at what our lead standards are. The lead standards are in reading and writing. In reading, you have Figure 19E, summarize, paraphrase, and synthesize text. That is what your performance standard is for the whole 6 weeks. The genres that you're going to be doing are poetry, drama, fiction, nonfiction, expository text, and then persuasive. Always keeping in mind what the BISD expectation is. And remember, we break those skills down when a standard is too large to be mastered in 6 weeks. So pay special attention to what each one of those is telling you that you need to do. But if you look back and you have not secured that expectation that we had for the past 6 weeks, I want you to slow down and secure the skill so that mastery of that standard can be complete. In the processes, it's fluency. We're always working on fluency within our reading processes. Independent reading, I want students really gauging independently where they are, building their stamina. That's extremely important at 5th grade for us to build our stamina, but to continue to read with comprehension and fluency. We're going to bring in media literacy about how our messages conveyed in various forms of media. And again, your vocabulary is basically the same, where you are looking at 10 to 12 vocabulary words selected from authentic text that you're reading in your classroom, adding those to your word wall, having kids do prior model with them, some great activities with those. One of the things you are expected to do is continually looking at Latin, Greek roots and how kids can take a look at words and find their meaning. It's extremely important. And of course, always is that they're just looking at vocabulary and building vocabulary. But what we're doing this 6 weeks is model and practice, synthesizing, paraphrasing, and summarizing sections of a text. One of the great resources you have on your Canvas is your comprehension toolkit, and I'll speak about that in just a moment. What I've done this 6 weeks is I've taken the unit overview, so you may want to put that in front of you, pause the video, and take a look as I go through and break it down to what are some of the focus lessons that you might have this 6 weeks. Over here in this column is Figure 19, engagement of the standard. You may want to put that lead standard out and really talk about what does summarize, paraphrase, and synthesize mean. What do those verbs mean to us when we're looking at text? What is it that we need to do as good readers? One of the things, the resources that I think that are very good for you is what I showed you is the comprehension toolkit, and the small book inside the summarizing and synthesized book has great ideas and gives you some great foundations. Also, you're going to be looking at one of your first focus lessons is going back looking at the grade level poster. How is information organized to present a convincing message? Next, let's talk about media literacy, about how is the media how is messages conveyed in media. I've given you 2 different websites that I feel like might be helpful in leading you to some resources to teach that. One of the biggest ones is the Fiction 5.6, and this is the skill that we did not do very well on last year in STAR. So it's about foreshadowing events. There are some great resources, motivation reading. I've given you some specifics here. The Linda Hoyt, I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a moment. The lesson literacy elements and foreshadowing lesson on page 203 in the Linda Hoyt That is in your library. Every librarian has purchased that. That is a great lesson to help you with foreshadowing. Here's the resource that I'm talking about. This is the Linda Hoyt book that looks, it's at the 4th and 5th grade level. This is the book that goes along with that particular lesson that I'm speaking of. But if you don't have this book in your library, then take a look at that lesson and then pick up each piece of literature that and model that lesson format. This is another I found release test from Lead Forward talking about that last release test, and I'll attach that to Figure 19E, which will give you some good help. Here are some additional focus lessons. Here is explain the logic, consistency, and credibility of a character's actions and reactions. In the motivational reading, motivation reading, there's on page 145 some great ideas on how to build that. Then here about biographies and autobiographies. Linda Hoyt, once again, that resource has a great section on that about how teaching biographies and autobiographies. Also, using your Texas Treasures reading genre book, that has a study guide, has some good lessons on biographies and autobiographies. Then the next one, expository text. One of the great resources you have is your social studies lessons, and your also within that, you also Dalton has purchased for you a comprehension toolkit text, and on pages 145 and through 181, there are some great lessons and some great short text to help you with actually teaching each one of these. So here is what that looks like. This is the comprehension toolkit text called The American Revolution and Constitution, and that should be on your campus. Here's some other lessons. Once again, you're going to be teaching the author's viewpoint or position. I'll explain the basic relationships in argument. Also in persuasive text, to use your STEM Scopopedia. And Brenda has helped me find a lesson that I'm going to be attaching to this particular standard that is in your 6 weeks about experimenting with forces. Really gives you some great, it really ties in with the standard that we're working with. One of the things I want you to look at is the SOAPS Think Sheet, because this actually helps kids, even though this is some of the things we think about, asking kids to examine and look at and analyze text. So this SOAP Think Sheet will help you greatly. Word work, we're going to continue to examine roots and affixes in your grade 5 spelling. Continue to take your vocabulary from authentic text. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your grade 5 English word study. If you are seeing through the BOY writing that your kids really do not have good sound spelling rules down, then I would say to you to go back and find, and I will be glad to attach the grade 2 spelling. It is 72 pages long, but look at the skills that we have asked second graders to secure and see if your students have those skills. If not, stop and secure some of those skills. Here's the resources that I'm talking about with the comprehension toolkit. It's called the Summarizing and Synthesizing. Each one of these lessons are extremely good in really giving you the background that you need. Look at this on the lesson 23 is Think Beyond the Text. And that's one big part of the closed reading. This will give you some great examples. Inside that comprehension toolkit is the source book of short text. This is some great text to use when teaching kids some of the skills that we have just talked about. In your guided reading, we want to continue to, you should have all of your guided reading up and going. You should be finding appropriate text for each one of those groups to use, but always considering reading with comprehension and fluency, teaching that tier 1 instruction at their reading level, guided reading level of summarize, paraphrase, and synthesizing text will get you more meaning than using a grade level text that they're not successful with. So in your guided reading, take those skills that you are using in tier 1 down to the guided reading group. In workstations, they should be completing 1 to 3 weekly written reading responses, and you may use the rubric for literary response with Figure 19D. you should be doing close reading with them, thinking about the 3 types of thinking and having those in their reading notebook. And they should be reading independently at their reading independent level with some type of accountability. Now, writing, we are writing about expository and procedural text. This is in 5th grade. You are really writing to really explain yourself. Here are the supporting standards for that 6 weeks are always going to be the writing process, but pay attention on your unit overview to the BISD expectations for each 6 weeks. The conventions of writing are subordinating conjunctions and supporting, and then I have the English here and the Spanish here, what you're doing, and transitional words, really helping them see that when you're building sentences that you are using the correct conjunctions with that, and then those transitional words that will actually improve the coherency of their whole paper. So continue working in their focus lessons. Here are some of the focus lessons from the unit overview. You're going to emphasize the techniques writers use to conceive a logical, consistent, convincing flow of information. Use daily focus lessons to examine paragraphs from a wide range of text. Once again, that comprehension toolkit can help you as you look at how authors in that have actually, how their flow of information in those texts within that are going to be a great one. This is a lesson that Norma is going to be working with you. Take a look at these 2 things, how you take this particular article, and then you have kids look at what the summary of it is. We're going to get this lesson for you. This will be a great lesson. In grammar, using the fanboy, that is the acronym that you're going to be using, that mnemonic for the fanboys to introduce the function of subordinating conjunctions, and creating a list of coordinating subordinating conjunctions in the handbook, and discussing transitional words. And then you're going to have an activity called the transition sort that you're going to want to use in your writing workshop. Model and practice revising sentence structure to improve the clarity and flow of a paragraph. Teach students how to interpret the demands of a prompt, and continue to reinforce anchor routines. If you have not done freeze time yet, you need to incorporate freeze time in helping kids to actually take from the 3-box planner how you organize your thinking and use freeze time, and using stop pair to monitor and to do for the accuracy of their convention. All of 3 of those routines really do help your writers to focus. Independent writing, you're going to need to have by the end of 6 weeks 1 first draft. Remember, just a first draft of personal narrative composition, 3 first drafts of expository compositions, and only 1 revised composition. Look over here. Students who are not consistently performing at stage 8 or higher need to be monitored more closely. However, students become strong, confident writers by writing more and working through the tough spots on their own. Here are some of the different things as you walk through in the independent writing time. As you're walking through, you're looking for examples of that freeze time strategy. If you have not incorporated freeze time yet, if you're really struggling with that, give me an email and we'll try to figure out how we can model freeze time for you to get that rolling in your classroom. Because when you do freeze time, you're going to see that you're going to teach grammar and all those effective strategies that you need to. You want their language to improve connections. You want to apply skills and techniques from a mentor text, how our other authors are doing it, and seeing that their writing has those things in it. Effective habits of the stop pair, and then using the word wall and personal dictionary to check for their spelling. So those are some of the things you're looking for this 6 weeks in their writing when you're independently writing. Then on the reflection, during the last week of this 6-week unit, set aside 2 10 to 15 minute blocks of the time on the different days to help them reflect on their growth in writing, as how are you growing as a reader and how are you growing as a writer. You'll find those, and it shows you where you're going to find those at. Once again, I really encourage you to contact your digital media specialist. The Google Classroom is a great tool for you to use in the 5th grade of having kids interact. So contact your media specialist to be able. Hope that helps you. Please contact me if you